What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios for week 4 of building the Battle of Jabiim in Lego. This week I am going to be taking some more advice from the comments, and I'm going to be putting in my first Easter egg on the mock. I want to put some stuff into the rockwork just because the entire bottom perimeter is going to be rockwork. I'd like to spice it up and put some fun little maybe Easter eggs, cool details, other random things in there to make it look more interesting and to be able to tell a little bit more of a story with a section of the mock that I'm probably not going to do a whole lot with otherwise. And I got a suggestion last week that I really liked and I think will make for a really fun Easter egg. I'm also going to be working on the ravine. I'd like to get the front section finished, at least with the plating, so that I can finally get the outline of this mock all the way finished. If you're excited to see what the Easter egg is and see some more good progress on Jabiim, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button. And if you're new watching for the first time, consider subscribing and tapping that little notification bell so you'll be notified as soon as the next episode drops. All that being said, it's time for me to get building. So I think it was last week I got a comment from Jackson Sieg, I think is how you pronounce his name. Great supporter of the channel. He's been around for a long time. He suggested putting a small cave in the rockwork and then putting something in there. And I really like that idea because, like I was saying, this rockwork's pretty boring and I think that could help spice it up a little bit and just add some fun little details. That's what I'm working on right now. I have to tear out a little section of the mock. Jackson suggested doing it on one of the flat sections. And I thought that was a great idea, and there was this one on the back side that I just really didn't know what to do with. I'm going to be taking that part out and sticking the cave in right there. Here's what we're looking at so far for the little cave. I've got most of the entrance done. The tough thing for me about caves is really the entrance because, typically when you see a cave hole, it's kind of circular, some kind of spherical hole-like shape, and that's kind of tough. It's already tough enough to create in Lego, but I have very limited inverted slopes when it comes to dark tan. Basically, I have two kinds. I've got this tall kind, and then I've got this shorter kind right here, if I can actually grab one. This kind. And so, the bottom part's fairly easy. I've got all different kinds of slopes. You can see I used a slope brick on its side, taller slopes, cheese slopes, smaller slopes to kind of create this bottom slope right here. But now completing it up here on the top is a little bit more challenging. I'm utilizing the different slopes I have to the best of my abilities. Next, I want to start working on the cave walls. I'm not going to make this super deep. It's probably only going to go to about right here. Let me know down below in the comments what you think I should put in here. You guys can see how small this is. Like, a minifigure is going to be probably like one of the biggest things I could fit. So let me know what kind of fun little Easter egg I should put in there. And I'll also be lighting it up, which I think will be cool because you'll have this cool little Easter egg right here in this cave backlit by the Lego lights. That's pretty much everything I have for this little update. Time to get back to work. I got some more work done on the cave. I finished off the entrance. I ended up mostly just using a bunch of these smaller inverted slopes, and then I did use one of the longer inverted slopes. I just stuck a tile on the back and then slid it in there on its side. So it's not really connected to anything, but once I build the terrain, the top terrain in behind this and on top of it, it shouldn't go anywhere. And I feel like that creates a decent enough look. It's not completely circular, but with a natural cave formation, you obviously wouldn't want something too circular. I like the kind of rough-hewn shape it gives. I did also get the light installed. You can see it there in the back. So that's what it looks like on. I ended up going with the yellow stud because that's kind of like the color I like the most, and I felt like that fit the vibe of this whole mock with all this tan. I felt like yellow would complement that nicely. Here's what it looks like with a minifigure in there. You can see it's pretty small. I'm actually thinking about making this bigger just because I'm not sure what I want to put in there, but if it does end up being bigger than a minifigure, I would like to have space for it. But when you cover up the top like this, you can see that light really helps illuminate the cave nicely. I'm gonna wait to finish off the top of the cave and kind of this upper area until I get more of this terrain down, so I know how the terrain's gonna transition into the top of the cave. So I think what I'm gonna do now is jump over here and continue on with that rockwork and hopefully get the rest of the ravine laid out. It's time for me to finish off that front section of the ravine. I am running kind of low on wedge plates. As far as variety goes, I have a lot of wedge plates, but I really only have 3 different kinds. And so I'm going to see if I can make it work with what I have. If not, I do have more coming on the way, so I could put something temporary in and work from there or work around it or whatever. Or I can just, if I do end up finding something I like with the shapes that I do have, I'll keep it. I'm thinking about actually making the ravine a little bit wider on the front of the mock as well. I was thinking about having it just be a little sliver on the side, but with how much the rockwork encroaches into the space that I was going to use for the ravine, I'm actually thinking about just cutting the rock wall back. It'll curve along the same line that you see there. It'll just be moved back maybe like 3 or 4 studs from where it was going to be. Progress check. So I just wrapped up streaming and I got this whole section finished, and I must say it looks pretty good. I was able to match this side pretty well. You can see I did that same wedge plate technique and just stacked it, so it made it look like, ridges or dried ripples in the dirt made from water, because I like to imagine, a river once came through here and kind of eroded out this cliff and formed this ravine. What I'm going to do next with the ravine is really bring it to life. This is like the base shape that I want the terrain to be. And now I got to go back in and add the details. So I'm going to be adding in more ridges and mounds and small hills like this, some more smaller rock features, little things sticking up out of the ground, as well as foliage, grass, plants, greenery, and stuff like that. I'm probably going to stick with the same olive green color, which limits what parts I can use, but I still do have some pretty cool foliage that I can put down. I'm thinking about putting some up in the rockwork too, so I may end up taking some of this apart and adding more pieces in later. One thing that I'm noticing now that I'm done is I'm actually gonna have to go back in and take out some of these olive green pieces. There's just more than I would like, and they're in kind of random places. I usually like to clump them together to make it look more natural looking, and then I don't even know what this is supposed to be right there. So I'm gonna have to swap out those colors. I did also put this this headlight brick in right here, so I can put like the little wedge plate pattern right here, kind of like what I did with Cato Nemoidia. All in all, this was a pretty good week. When I started over here, I think I was only about halfway done, so it's nice to have this ravine finished out. I got that cave Easter egg in, and I'm feeling pretty good with the height of the mock. So I think what I'm going to do next week is crank out a bunch of this rock work, start throwing some of that foliage down, and maybe hopefully start on some of the upper terrain. All that being said, that wraps up this update. Time to hit the outro. Well, that wraps up another week of building Jabiim. I think now that I have got pretty much all of the base plated out, I might change the ravine a little bit when I get some more wedge plates in. But for the most part, it's all finished, and I kind of know what style I want the rockwork to look like. I'm probably going to pick up the pace and start getting a little bit more done each week. Rockwork's fun, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily make for super great updates if that's all I can do. It's kind of like those early days of Utapau and Cato Nemoidia where there wasn't a whole lot to show you, because once I get onto the base and start doing terrain, there's going to be buildings, terrain, tents, shield generators, all different kinds of things that I can jump around to, whereas right now it's kind of like ravine, rockwork, ravine, rockwork. The sooner I can power through this, the better. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to let me know what you thought about this episode down below in the comments, and I will catch you all next time. But until then, happy building.